Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going back into Matchday number 2. After a dramatic opening round of FIFA World Cup 2026 action, Matchday 2 is already shaping up to be one of the most important rounds of the group stage. Some teams exceeded expectations, some teams completely collapsed, and others showed enough quality to be considered a genuine dark horse in this tournament. Today we're breaking down 4 matches in the Matchday 2. We have Scotland versus Morocco, Brazil versus Haiti, USA versus Australia, Turkey versus Paraguay. We'll examine what we learned from Matchday 1, which tactical adjustments each player managers needs to make, the key player battles that could decide these games, and finally my prediction for all 4 matches. Let's begin with what may be the most underrated matchup of the entire round. Scotland versus Morocco. At first glance, many fans will immediately favor Morocco. After all, this is the team that shocked the football world in recent years with their disciplined defensive football, world-class fullbacks, and tactical organization. But Scotland are exactly the type of opponent capable of making this game uncomfortable. Let's start with Scotland. According to the ratings, Scotland entered the tournament with an overall score of 78 out of 100. Their biggest strength is clearly their attack. When Scotland move forward, they do not waste time. Everything is tactical, everything is vertical, everything is direct. Everything is designed to get the ball into dangerous areas as quickly as possible. The partnership between Scott McTominay and John McGinn remains incredibly dangerous because both players attack space aggressively from midfield. And for disclosure, if I'm pronouncing these names wrong or the words wrong, there will be in the description if you're confused on who the player actually is. Now let's get back right into it. Unlike many teams that rely entirely on strikers for goal, Scotland generates scoring opportunities from deep runners arriving late into the box. This makes them difficult to track defensively. Another major weapon is Ben Doak. His pace and direct dribbling give Scotland a completely different dimension. Against teams that push their fullbacks forward, Doak can become devastating in transitions. However, Scotland's biggest weakness remains in the defensive side of the game. The reports indicate that both the goalkeeper position and defensive structure remains their lowest rated areas. Communication problems between defenders have appeared repeatedly. The backline can become stretched. And when opponents move the ball quickly through midfield, Scotland can struggle to maintain compactness. Now let's look at Morocco. Morocco arrives with one of the most complete squads in the tournament. Their overall rating sits significantly higher at 82.5 out of 100. Unlike Scotland, Morocco don't rely on one specific strength. Their quality is spread throughout the squad. Defensively, they may have the best fullback pairing in the entire competition. Achraf, Hakimi, and Noussair Mazraoui provide pace, recovery speed, attacking support, and tactical intelligence. This allows Morocco to defend aggressively while still maintaining balance. In midfield, they possess tremendous depth. Players such as Amrabat, Ounahi, and Boudi bring energy, tactical quality, and physicality. Perhaps the most important is Morocco rarely loses their shape. This is a team that understands spacing. They defend in compact blocks, they close pacing lanes, and they force opponents in low percentage decisions. The one criticism from Matchday 1 concerns finishing. The report suggests Morocco still lack a traditional elite striker capable of converting every half chance. That may not be a major issue against weaker opponents. Against Scotland, however, missed chances could become costly. This match could ultimately come down to whether Morocco can control Scotland's transitions. If Morocco dominates possession and force Scotland into deep defensive shape, their tactical superiority should eventually create opportunities. But if Scotland repeatedly win second balls and launch quick counterattacks through Doak, McGinn, and McTominay, Morocco could find themselves in a far more difficult match than expected. For me, this is not a comfortable game for either side. It's genuine tactical chess match. Now let's move on to Brazil versus Haiti. On paper, this looks like one of the most easiest matches to predict in the entire round. One team is a 5-time world champion loaded with world-class talent. The other is one of the tournament's biggest underdogs. But if Matchday 1 taught us everything, it's that international football is rarely that simple. Brazil comes into this game after a performance that was both encouraging and concerning at the same time. The positive side is obvious. The individual quality remains incredible. Vinícius Júnior once again showed why he is one of the most dangerous attackers in world football. According to the Matchday 1 report, he produced a moment of brilliance completely out of nothing, turning an otherwise difficult situation into a goal. That's the luxury Brazil possesses. Even when their tactical structure isn't functioning perfectly, they have players capable of changing a match with a single touch. However, the reports also revealed some worrying cracks beneath the surface. Brazil's overall rating dropped from 86.5 to 82.5 after Matchday 1. That's a significant correction for a team expected to challenge for the trophy. The biggest concern was the midfield. The reports specifically highlighted a disconnect between Casemiro, Bruno, Guimarães, and Lucas Paqueta. At that time, the distance between the midfielders became too large. When possession was lost, opponents found space in central areas far too easily. This created a dominant effect throughout the team. Once the midfield lost compactness, the fullbacks were forced to cover more ground. As the fullbacks move wider, the center backs become isolated. And once the center backs became isolated, Brazil suddenly looked vulnerable. For a team with Brazil's defensive talent, that's not something supporters are used to seeing. The defensive rating dropped from 80 to a 74. That is arguably the most surprising statistic from Matchday 1. Brazil's defenders weren't necessarily poor individually. The problem was structural. The team's shape repeatedly stretched too far apart. Against stronger opponents later in the tournament, that issue could become extremely dangerous. Now let's talk about Haiti. Because while many fans will focus entirely on Brazil, Haiti actually delivered one of the most impressive underdog performances of the opening round. Their overall rating increased from a 68 to a 71.5. That might not sound dramatic, but relative expectations, it was a major success. The biggest surprise came from their defensive organization. Before the tournament, many analysts believed Haiti's defense would be their fatal weakness. Instead, they showed discipline, compactness, and resilience. Their defensive unit significantly exceeded expectations. The report specially appraised the central defensive structure led by Ricardo Arda. Rather than collapsing under pressure, Haiti maintained shape and limited dangerous spaces. This is important because it completely changes how Brazil must approach the match. If Haiti were disorganized, Brazil could simply overwhelm them through possession. But Haiti have already demonstrated that they can stay compact for long periods. That means Brazil may need patience. Another standout performer was goalkeeper Johnny plus side. His rating increased after matchday 1 because of several important interventions. Against a team like Brazil, the goalkeeper becomes even more important. Let's be honest, Haiti are probably going to spend large stretches of this match defending. The question isn't whether Brazil will create chances, the question is how many of those chances can Haiti survive. Technically, Haiti's approach is fairly obvious. Expect a compact defensive block, expect limited pressing, expect numbers behind the ball, and expect quick counterattacks whenever possession is recovered. Their objective won't be to dominate the game. Their objective will be to frustrate Brazil if the score remains level after 30 or 40 minutes. Pressure begins to shift. Suddenly, Brazil becomes impatient. Suddenly, Haiti gains belief. Suddenly, every counterattack feels more dangerous. That's where underdog stories begin. From Brazil's perspective, the key adjustment is restoring midfield control. I'm sorry. I have a little bit I've been talking too much lately. The biggest lesson from matchday 1 wasn't that Brazil lacked talent. Everyone already knows they have talent. The lesson was that talent alone isn't enough. The distance between midfielders must be tighter. Defensive transitions must improve, and possessions need to be used more effectively to move opponents rather than simply dominate the ball. Watch Vinícius Júnior closely. Haiti's defensive block naturally creates 1-versus-1 situations on the wings. That is exactly the type of environment where Vinícius thrives. If Haiti double teams him successfully, Brazil may struggle longer than expected. If they leave him isolated against a single defender, the game could be over very quickly. Another key factor is game management. The longer Haiti remains competitive, the more dangerous the physiological side of the match becomes. Brazil will expect to win comfortably. Anything less creates pressure. Every missed opportunity increases frustration. Every save by Palisade energizes Haiti. Every minute that passes keeps the dream alive. That's why the first goal is so important. If Brazil score early, Haiti may be forced to abandon their compact structure. Once that happens, space begins to appear. And once space appears, Brazil's become lethal. But if Haiti survive the opening stages, we could have a much more competitive contest than most people expect. My prediction, I believe Haiti's organization will make this difficult early on. I expect them to frustrate Brazil for periods of the first half. However, over 90 minutes, the quality gap is simply too large. Brazil have too many players capable of creating decisive moments. Eventually, the pressure will break Haiti's resistance. So my prediction, I'd have to go with Brazil. 3-0 against Haiti. Goal scorers might come from Vinícius Júnior or Rodrygo or Bruno Guimarães. Brazil gets the win, but Haiti once again earned the respect for fighting spirit and tactical discipline. Now let's move on to arguably the biggest match of Group D so far. The United States versus Australia. Two teams that won their opening matches, two teams full of confidence, and two teams that know a victory here could put one foot into the knockout stage. On paper, many fans will immediately favor the United States, but Australia have already proven they can surprise people. Their opening 4-1 victory over Paraguay was one of the most complete performances on matchday 1. Everything seemed to click. The midfield controlled possession, the attack looked dangerous every time it moved forward, and defensively they were comfortable for most of the match. The star of the show was once again Christian Pulisic. Whenever the United States needed creativity, he delivered. His moment between the lines caused problems all game long, and his ability to beat defenders one-on-one remains one of America's biggest weapons. Alongside him, Malik Tillman showed why many fans are excited about his future. His passing opened up spaces repeatedly and helped connect midfield with attack. Tyler Adams also deserves credit. He may not always get to the headlines, but he proved balance to the entire team. His defensive work allows the attacking players to risk further forward. The biggest strength of the United States is flexibility. They can dominate possession, they can counterattack, and they can press aggressively when needed. That makes them extremely difficult to prepare for. But now let's talk about Australia, because they might be the surprise package of Group D. Coming into this tournament, not many people expected them to defeat Turkey, yet they produced one of the most disciplined performances of Matchday 1. Australia won 2-0 despite spending long periods without the ball. Their defensive organization was excellent, their shape remained compact, and when opportunities appeared, they were ruthless. One player who stood out was goalkeeper Patrick Beach. He produced several important saves and gave confidence to the team's entire defense. When your goalkeeper is playing at that level, the whole team becomes stronger. Australia's biggest weapon is their mentality. This is a team that embraces being the underdog. They don't mind defending, they don't mind suffering without possession, and they are extremely dangerous on the counterattack. That could create an interesting tactical battle. The United States will likely control more of the ball. Australia will likely sit deeper and wait for opportunities to break. The question is whether Australia can survive the pressure for 90 minutes, because eventually Pulisic Tillman, I forgot to put a space there, and Balogun usually create chances. The American attack simply has more quality than what Australia faced against Turkey. At that same time, Australia have already shown they can punish mistakes. If the United States push too many players forward, Australia will have space to exploit behind their defenses. This means the opening goal becomes incredibly important. If America score first, the game should open up and suit their style. If Australia score first, they can sink even deeper and make life extremely frustrating for the Americans. Personally, I think the United States have too much attacking quality. Australia will make things difficult. They'll stay organized, they'll defend bravely, but over 90 minutes, I expect Americans' talent to make a difference. So my prediction, I'd have to lean against USA 2-1 against Australia. USA wins. The goals might come from Christian Pulisic or Folarin Balogun or Kusini Yengi for Australia. The United States move closer to qualifications while Australia remains very much alive heading into final group match. And finally, we arrive what could be the most desperate match of Matchday 2. Turkey versus Paraguay. Why is this game so important? Because both teams lost their opening match. Turkey fell 2-0 against Australia. Paraguay were crushed 4-1 by the United States. That means neither side has a single point. And in 4-team group, starting with 2 straight losses almost means elimination. So this isn't just a football match, it's a survival match. Let's begin with Turkey. Despite losing to Australia, Turkey actually gave fans reason to be optimistic. The scoreline doesn't tell the full story. Turkey dominated possession, they controlled large stretches of the game, and they created far more chances than their opponents. The biggest problem? Finishing. According to the reports, Turkey registered around 30 shots but failed to score a single goal. This is almost unbelievable. The attacking movement was there, the creativity was there, the opportunities were there, the finishing simply wasn't. Players like Hakan and Arda Güler still showed flashes of quality, Their passing and vision constantly put Australia under pressure. The issue was converting chances into goals. Turkey coaching staff will probably look at the performance and think, if we play like that again, they may win. Oh, I'm sorry. I meant if we play like that again, we'll win. I read the report wrong. And honestly, they might be right. Because football can sometimes be cruel. You can dominate a match and still lose. Now let's look at Paraguay. Unlike Turkey, Paraguay's problems were much bigger than finishing. Against the United States, they looked overwhelmed. Defensively, they struggled. The midfield couldn't establish control, and they attacked rarely, threatened constantly. Miguel Almiron tried to make things happen. His pace and energy were visible throughout the match, but he often looked isolated. Without support from midfield, he was forced to create opportunities by himself. Paraguay's biggest concern heading into Matchday 2 is confidence. When a team loses 4-1, doubt starts appearing. Players become hesitant. Simple mistakes begin creeping into their game. And against a talented Turkish side, those mistakes could be punished. Tactically, this matchup is fascinating. Turkey will likely dominate possession, and once again, Paraguay will probably sit deeper and look to counterattack. The question is whether Turkey can finally finish the chances they create. Because if they continue wasting opportunities, frustration could build up very quickly. Paraguay knows this, and they'll likely make the match as comfortable as possible. One player to watch is Arda Güler. The young star has already shown moments of brilliance. His creativity could be the difference maker. For Paraguay, Miguel Almiron remains the biggest threat. If Turkey push too many players forward, Almiron has the pace to punish them on the break. Still, when comparing the squads, Turkey simply have more quality. Their Matchday 1 defeat felt unlucky. Paraguay's defeat exposed deeper problems. That's why I believe Turkey will bounce back. So my prediction, I have to lean to Turkey. 2-0 against Paraguay, Turkey wins. The goal scorer might come from Arda Güler or Kerem Aktürkoğlu. Turkey finally gets their first win of the tournament and keep their qualification hopes alive. Paraguay, meanwhile, would be facing elimination heading into Matchday 3. But who knows? Football is round. Anything could happen. So my final predictions for Matchday 2 in this round, Morocco versus Scotland, 2-1, Morocco wins. Brazil versus Haiti, 3-0, Brazil wins. USA versus Australia, 2-1, USA wins. And Turkey versus Paraguay, 2-0, Turkey wins. Those are my predictions for Matchday 2 of the FIFA World Cup 2026 simulation. Let me know in the comments which predictions you agree and which upset you think could happen. Who will qualify from Group C and D? And which team has impressed you the most so far in the tournament? And I'll see you tomorrow with more of Matchday 2 predictions and simulations. I'll see you next time.